So we're looking at chapter 2 in Numbers tonight. And we're going to be talking about, last week we talked about that they had to set up an order. Okay, some kind of order. And this week the order gets even more. First of all, they set up, Moses told them, we need to get the groups in, each of the families, and he's talking about the 12 tribes of Israel, a head of each one of them. They appointed a head for each one, and then they had a census for each one. The only one that wasn't counted was the Levites. Okay, the Levites, they didn't count them. So it come up, and it was, we'll see it again tonight, but it was like 600,000 plus that were men that were above 21 years of age that could fight. So they had a lot more people in Israel, but these are the ones that could fight. So tonight
Did they do it in groups anyway?
Well, he would send out, it's just like an army. Whenever an army sends out, they don't send everybody all at once. And we'll talk about this tonight a little bit. They just don't say, okay, everybody grab a gun and go shoot somebody. Somebody has to have a plan. So
somebody has to be in charge.
They have to be in charge. And you have a general that's over the entire thing, okay? And then in each area, just to think about World War II the way it was, you had a commander-in-chief, which is the president, but he's just kind of giving the okay to stuff. But the generals that are in one place, one of them is over what they call a theater. And the theater that they had was in Europe, one of the theaters. The other theater was Japan. Okay, so they was fighting two wars at once. The Japanese and the European, the Germans and Russian, wasn't fighting the Russians, but the Germans, Italians, and all those that was with them. And they didn't do that all at once. They didn't send every man to one place because they're going to fight different areas. So they sent battalions, they sent groups of guys, and I don't know the particular terms, military terms of them, but a battalion is one of them. And they would send them out. Just like today, they sent the Army, the Navy, over to the Mediterranean Sea to watch over Israel, to make sure Iran doesn't start launching a bunch of stuff out. And they've actually helped them. They shoot some of the missiles down that came from Saudi Arabia. Actually, they came from the Houthis in Yemen, things like that. And the British has done this also. So they have their group, their carrier group that's out there. It has thousands of men on those battleships. So that's exactly what's happening tonight, and we'll read a little bit more about it as we get into it. Numbers 2, chapter 2, 1 and 2. Said, and the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, everyone on the children of Israel shall camp by his own standard beside the emblems of his father's house. They shall camp some distance from the tabernacle of meeting. Okay? We need some definitions to remember what was what. What's a standard?
Normal rules.
In this case, not so much.
Oh.
That back there is a standard. That flag.
Flag, yeah.
That's a standard. So it says make a standard.
That's a national.
That's the national. That's the church. And then Oklahoma has one, and Tulsa has one, and all the different. Here's what he's saying: every one of the children of Israel shall camp by his own standard.
Respect.
You're going to stay in an area. There's going to be a flag that you're in an area. Whenever we were in the Scouts, as much like I wasn't ever in the military, but was in the Scouts, we each stayed by troops. Yeah. Each troop had their own banner and they had their own name. We were Troop 57, Broken Arrow. Some of the other troops were named other things. We had a flag. We put a little standard out there. We had tents they wanted to set up. When we set up our tents, they told us how to set them up. We set them up in that order, kind of around the campfire. And then they would set other tents up. Usually the adults was kind of out around the boys so they could kind of keep track of everything. But anyway, so that's what it's saying. The children of Israel, each one of them had their own standard. A little later on in Numbers 24, 5 and 6, Balaam, which is a king will read about here later. It says, how lovely are your tents, O Jacob, your dwellings, O Israel, like valleys that stretch out like gardens by the riverside, like aloes planted by the Lord, like cedars beside the water. What this is all doing, the Lord, up until now, they kind of moved as a group. And they still stayed by families or areas where people was there. But now they're doing it in a specific manner. Okay? I'm going to let you in a little secret. You'll turn to the very last page. 2 pages. I'll show you. Yours is on 1 page, mine's on 2. Okay, here's a couple different pictures at the back. Okay? You can look at this one. Look at all the tents and stuff out there.
Oh, wow.
That's the way it was set up. This is more of an overview, the other picture that you have. This is the way it was set up. The tabernacle was in the middle. You had around it, you had the tribe of Levi that was right by the tabernacle area. It's still a ways off. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then each one of them, this is just blocks. This isn't just tents because it's more like this. Look at this. This has a tent here, and this has a little corral for their cattle, and it has another one here, another one here, another one here, another one here.
Yeah.
So that's what they had to have. They didn't let their cattle just run loose, or their goats, or their sheep, or whatever they had out there. They had to have some sort of order to this. And that's what God is telling them now. He's getting them ready. They're going to march up across from Jericho, and they're going to be like an army. These other armies have orders. They have they have military men. These are slaves. They've been slaves for hundreds of years. They don't know how to fight. They don't know how this order goes. They just didn't do it. If he likes to do it this way, he does it this way. If this guy likes to do it this way, he does it this way. God's starting to lay out a plan so Israel can conquer this people. And that plan he gives to Moses, and then Moses turns out.
And Levites are the only ones that are in the court?
Levites are the ones surrounding the tabernacle. Their tents are surrounding the tabernacle. Okay?
In the tabernacle yard.
Well, the tabernacle's a tent, okay, that's in the middle. And then there's a lining around the tent. Remember that? Okay, that's the tabernacle area. The Levites can go in there. Not everybody can, but the Levites can.
I noticed that the picture shows people in there, so
Yes, there's Levites in there working because they have to do. Remember, they have to cook the bread. They do the sheep, it's killing the sheep, and do all that. They have to do all this. So they're working. So they're around there. Other people can be in there, but certain places in that. And outside of that is where the Levites set their tents around it. So they're kind of protecting the tabernacle. And we'll go ahead and read it here in just a minute. We'll find out. But this is what God set out to be. One of the scrolls that they found in the Qumran caves, where they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, it came up and they said that they were distinguished by standards were carried by each division within the ancestral tribe. Okay? So those people that were from Judah, they had a tribe, that's a tribe, so they had a standard. Now each family may have had a standard. Today each family has a standard. Do you know that? Has a crest, a family crest. And you can look it up and it has meaning, may not mean anything to you, but back whenever that name was created, my grandpa's name was Brooks. His last name was Brooks, surname. And they said that goes back to where the people that lived around the brook. So they called them Brooks. Okay? It originates, I think they originate from Scotland or Ireland or somewhere over there. I'm not sure, or England, I'm not sure. But that's the way they come up with the different names. It means something in usually the particular language here. When they translate in English, it may not mean anything, but to us, it meant meant something to them. Now it also says in there, they shall camp some distance from the tabernacle of the meeting. That tabernacle was important. And we don't know exactly how far it was, but in other places, it talks about staying about 2,000 cubits away from the tabernacle area. Okay? Now 2,000 cubits about a foot and a half long. So 2,000 cubits roughly is about 1,000 yards. Well, 1,000 yards is roughly a half a mile. So you got a half a mile cushion between the tabernacle all the way around it. Now, that's important because you don't want people coming to the tabernacle that's not clean, that aren't Levites, that doesn't understand what's going on, and they may have several places we see in the Bible when that happens, people die. Okay, when Uriah went out and put his hand on the ark to steady it, he died. Because they weren't supposed to carry the ark like that.
The Levites at all times was the only one allowed there.
That was their work that they did in there. Other people could come at certain times, but not all the time. Now, that's why they put their tents, and even their tents was, here again, away. I don't know how far away it was, if their tents was in that 1,000 cubits or 1,000 yards, or if they were at the edge of it. I just don't know. Yeah. So I'm going to read it because it goes through the names again tonight. In chapter 2, verse 3, it tells us how this was laid out. God didn't have you guys go set your tents up wherever you want. He said, you guys set up your tents in this way, on the east side. Now the tabernacle always faced east. The gate of the tabernacle always faced east. The back of the tabernacle is west. The right side of the tabernacle, if you're facing it, would be the north, and the left side would be the south. So on the east side, on the front of the tabernacle, and here it says why, toward the rising of the sun. That's always anticipating. Now, that's a type and a foreshadow also, because Christ is supposed to come back in the east. He's supposed to land in the temple area in Jerusalem. He will land in the east, which is the Mount of Olives. That's where he's supposed to come back. When he left, he told them he's going to come back to that very same place. And when he touches down, it's going to be an earthquake. Huge earthquake. But it says, those of the standard of the forces of Judah shall camp according to their armies. And Nashon, the son of Abinadab, shall be the leader of the children of Judah. Okay, we talked about this leader last week. So he's the leader, and he's telling them, Nashon, you get these guys in order. So, and you read through this, and I don't quite understand clearly. When I read the commentary, okay, if you look on this very last page, what they show is Judah is up here. See, the tabernacle's this is east. Tabernacle's facing east. This area is for the Levites around the tabernacle, and then all the way around here is the rest of the tribes. They put Judah up here. What I understood, Judah is all the way in front. And then behind him is the next tribe, and behind him is the next tribe. Now that's the way the commentator kind of understood it, or that I was reading in this guy. This, says it too.
They did kind of according to the number of tribes.
They did. Okay, that's important. They didn't do it. God did.
Well, I'll look at ahead and say, oh.
So God said, and his army was numbered 74,600. Those who camp next to him shall be the tribe of Issachar. So they're setting these up in groups, okay? And this group that's on the east is Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. Those three tribes is going to be the east side. And So it goes through, those who camp next to him shall be the tribe of Issachar, and Nethaneel, the son of Zuhar, shall be the leader of the children of Issachar. His army was 54,400. Then comes the tribes of Zebulun, and Eli, the son of Helon, shall be the leader of the children of Zebulun. His army was 57,400. All who were numbered according to their armies of the forces of Judah, 186,400. These shall break camp first. Okay? So, these, if you go back and look at the little diagram, have that in front of you. Yeah, look at the top of that diagram.
On the north side?
No, just look up here. There's another little one. And the very top of it has east. It's not really according, but here it is Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. And they're down at the bottom, 186,400. That's how many was in those three groups.
Makes you wonder why the Lord chose certain ones and certain times.
Well, we're getting to that.
Oh,
we're going to talk about that. So, and actually, if you're looking at it, it would be facing this way. It would be east. Okay? I mean, if you're saying north is to the north, so north is up, like normal.
North, this way here.
North is this way here, but yeah. Okay. So we talked about that. Said, and Judah encamped foremost at the closest. It was fit the lion should lead the way. This was what was prophesied of them. This order in their march showed the principality that should continue in this tribe till Shiloh came. Judah herein was a type of Christ, who is the captain of the Lord's host, in Joshua 5:14, and of our salvation in Hebrews 2:10, and goeth before his heavenly armies in Revelation 12:7. So Judah was in a post of honor, and they call it in the band. It's in the group, if you want to say, instead of a group, that area. So he was next to the tabernacle. Judah was next up to the tabernacle. And he had his group. After that's Issachar, and the next one's Zebulun. Okay? And this group, these three, were to break camp first. Whenever they went somewhere, those would start out moving first. And then they got a certain order that they go in, and we'll read that in just a minute. They'll follow this order, and we'll go around. So, and again, it's the east side. So the tribes would order themselves after the banner or the flag of Judah, which sometimes is considered to bear the image of a lion. We always talk about Judah and Christ being a lion, the Lion of Judah. Hear that commentate?
Yeah.
And it goes through and talks about all these. There's actually on the next.
Except for Jesus, then, when they broke camp, it made Judah the leader.
Judah was the first out. Yeah. Well, Judah would be the one to break those three. Now, see, that's what I don't quite understand, because if Judah's next to Levi and Judah's the first one to leave out, he has to cross over those two other groups to get there. So I don't know this other one, that other image where it shows Judah at the top, that may be the way it was. I don't know exactly. But
that's a good question, though.
It talks about that group, that east side. They move out first. So I don't think either way it really doesn't matter. But Judah's leading.
And the way it's set up, Judah would have to go start north.
Well, no, they could go east, directly east. It depends on where they're set. So, but again, you got to throw in the amount of people that's in each of the tribe. So you got 74,000 people in Judah. Judah's the biggest tribe. Okay.
Well, get them all together.
Well, 74,600. And the next two are all not quite that big, but they're pretty big, 54,000 and 57,000. Total of 186,000. That group facing east is the largest of the four groups. Okay? They have 186,000 people. If you look at the other three, the one to the north is only 157,000. The one to the south is 151,000. So those are about the same, roughly. The one to the west is 108. It's the smallest. Okay? That's going to play a part here in just a minute. Okay,
It takes a while to get them all so you can follow.
Oh yeah, it's going to take a long time.
Wow.
Okay, we're going to jump on to page 5. There's a lot of reading material you can go through there. It's mainly talking about the different standards that they have. And nobody really knows because we still don't have a standard. And the closest we get is like 1500 or 1600 AD. So you've got about, 2,000 years ago. So we really don't know. But this little chart that's here in the middle of page 5 shows you what is typically what they think may have been the standards. Okay? These are, they got Keel and Clark, which was two individuals that they put together what they thought the standards may be. There's some nobility, I'm not sure what that is. They thought that's what it would be. There was another one called Ginsburg 1 and Ginsburg 2. These are what they, so Judah, if you look down in the third one down, all of them think that was a lion. Their tribe was a lion. Now they also believe, okay, what is our flag made up of? Here behind us. Standard is what? It's flag, but how do you know it's our flag?
How do you know what?
How do you know that? By looking at that flag, immediately you know it's the United States.
Right.
How?
Because you were told and taught.
I know, but what distinguishes it?
Stars.
You got stars,
Right.
you got stripes, you got colors, red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
Okay? Those all mean something if you go and see what the standard is. This standard, they think that they had colors. The different tribes had the different colors. Remember when God told Moses to make the frontal piece?
Yeah.
The breastplate had different colored jewels.
Yes.
They think those colors represented those flags. So if it's a purple amethyst, it's purple. That purple may have been a certain tribe. Green, turquoise may have meant something else. Opal, if they had opals, white meant something else. So in addition to having the symbol, which may be a bear, lion, monkey, all these different things, they also was a color. So they would know. And all these flags were flying. Have you ever, we went out 2 weeks ago and decorated graves at Floral Haven.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever been to Floral Haven on Memorial Day or around Memorial Day. About every 10 feet there's a United States flag. They've got all around the roadway. The Boy Scouts put them up. Oh, it's beautiful. It just makes you awe, That's the way this was. All over those tribes, they had these flags set up. So they knew where the boundaries were. They were set up in this order. So that's what this is talking about. They're setting up an order. God's telling them that this is the way it's going to be. And says these, talking about those three on the east, they're going to move in a certain time. They're going to move first. They didn't just say, okay, everybody pick up your, they blow a trumpet to let everybody know they're moving. There's a certain bugle, trumpet sound, and the people all over heard it. Now, last week we talked about how big this was. Possibly 12 square miles. Okay, so hearing a trumpet blow from a long ways away, that's going to be kind of hard to do. So they repeat the sound, each tribe will repeat the sound so the one behind it can hear. So they'll hear that. And they know it's coming. So they know, okay, we got to get ready. We got about 30 minutes before The first troop's going to move out, and then we're going to be moving right behind them.
Wow.
And the Levites would know, because then they got to start taking down the tabernacle. They're moving. Put them on carts.
They're the last ones that go, aren't they?
We're going to find that out. You're going to have to hold your horses.
I'm all the time asking
Just a
questions
minute.
ahead of you.
Numbers 2:10 through 16 says on the south side. We did the east side. Now on the south side, which if you're looking at it in direction, it would be down if you're looking at it as a picture here. Shall be the standard of the forces with Reuben, according to their armies. And the leader of the children of Reuben is Eliezer, the Seduar, a son of Seduar. And his army was numbered at 46,500. Those who camp next to him shall be the tribe of Simeon. The leader of the children of Simeon shall be Shelumiel, the son of Zurishaddai, something like that. And his army was numbered at 59,300. Then comes the tribe of Gad, and the leader of the children of Gad shall be Elishapha, the son of Rehuel. And his army was numbered 54,650. All who were numbered according to their armies of the forces with Reuben, 51,450. They shall be the second to break camp. So first the east moves out, and then the south moves out. Okay, so these two groups are moving out. Now, so I was going to say something. Left me. I was going to say something there, but I can't remember. Okay, and now we get down to the next one, which is Numbers 2:17. And the tabernacle of meeting shall move out with the camp of the Levites in the middle of the camps, as they camp. So they shall move out every one in his place by their standards. So, east goes out, south goes out, Levites follow them, and then we'll come to the rest of them. Why are they doing that? They're protecting. They got a war force behind them. They got a war force in front of them and a war force behind them. Tabernacle's going to be in the middle. The Levites and stuff, they're protecting it. And making sure everything, first of all, the first group's going to make sure as they go through the path, they're going to make sure that everything's on the way. There's no robbers on the way, and the next groups can pass on. And the groups at the last, the ones that follow up, they have an important part too. They don't want anybody coming up behind them and trying to, wage war on them. So they're watching continually, almost walking backwards. I'm just saying that. They got to watch the back of it. So they shall move out, everyone in his place, by their standards. It says this is a sense of the progressive manifestation of the presence of God in the midst of the people. First of all, on the Mount Sinai, God met with Moses. Okay? And then he comes to the tent, remember, outside of the camp. That was Moses' tent. Then he dwells in the tent in the midst of the camp. When God came and they set the tabernacle up, God came and the Shekinah glory came down, and the fire was a cloud above it and fire at night. Okay, and the Shekinah was in the Holy of Holies. It says one day he would reveal himself through the incarnation in the midst of his people. And of course, that's Christ. And on a day still to come, there will be full realization of the presence of the person of God dwelling in the midst of his people in the New Jerusalem.
Okay, question.
Mm-hmm.
The Levites are the only ones that can go in the tabernacle.
Yes.
But God could.
And God's not a people.
Oh, you know what? If he was on earth, if he was a person.
Yeah.
And Jesus could too.
Jesus could, but he's not there yet.
Yeah.
Okay. 18 through 24. On the west side, okay, now we're on the back side of the tabernacle, shall be the standard of the forces of Ephraim, according to their armies, and the leader of the children of Ephraim shall be Elishama, the son of Amminadab. And his army was numbered 40,500. Next to him, the tribe of Manasseh. The leader of the children of Manasseh shall be Gamaliel, the son of Pedazur. and his army was numbered 32,200. Then comes the tribe of Benjamin, and the leader of the children of Benjamin shall be Abidan, the son of Gideoni, and his army was numbered 35,400. All who were numbered according to their armies of the forces of Ephraim, 180,100. They shall be the third to break camp. So the Levites are going to move out, and it's kind of moving in sections. Okay, the first section moves out, and they move behind them, and then the Levites come, and then the other guys on the west side come right behind the Levites, and the last will be that north group. They'll come in behind them. Now, each one of these, like we talked about, the first one in each group, Judah and Ephraim, I can't remember who the other one was, Gad. No, Reuben. These are all special. You got to go back and look and see who their brothers were in the tribes. Judah. Let's go back to the first one. And you say, well, they all were brothers. Well, yeah, but they were actually half brothers. Okay? Because they had Rachel and Leah, was the two mothers,
Right.
and the other two were handmaidens of those two. So they have four mothers in amongst these. Okay? So the ones that are moving on the east side, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun, each one of these, not each one, but these groups here, they had the same mother. So there's no picking and choosing. They would say, okay, we like these guys. We know them. They're our mom. The others, it's a different group. They may say, well, what's Judah getting ahead? Because it wasn't. They're not in the same group. You're gonna have the same friction that you had with Joseph in his red coat, his many-colored coat. It could be the same thing. So God put it in this order. They didn't fight it all over it because it made sense. God told them this is the way it's going to be, and He knew the order that it should be, so they wouldn't have any complaints. If you go back and look at these, each one is.
And didn't you assign each group a leader?
Yes, yeah. Each one of these has a leader. It's the head of the group, and then they go on.
Well, it's a lot of people to lead.
Oh, yeah. Now, 25 through 31. The standard of the forces with Dan shall be on the north side, according to their armies, and the leader of the children of Dan shall be Ahiezer, the son of Ammishaddai, and his army was numbered 62,700. Those who camp next to him shall be the tribe of Asher, and the leader of the children of Asher shall be Pagel, the son of Okran, and his army is numbered 41,500. Then comes the tribe of Naphtali, and the leader of the children of Naphtali shall be Ahira, the son of Enan, and his army was numbered at 53,400. All who were numbered of the forces with Dan, 157,600. They shall break camp last with their standards. So each one of these, he repeated it for each area, north, south, east, and west. And 32:34 says, these are the ones who were numbered of the children of Israel by their fathers' houses. All who were numbered according to the army of the forces were 603,550. Now, that's just the men that fight. They also have their families. They also have their cattle. They also have everything else that they brought with them that's got to move. So these numbers are not. Here again, it's probably 2 to 2.5 million people that they're moving. But the Levites were not numbered among the children of Israel, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Thus the children of Israel did according to all that the Lord commanded Moses. So they camped by their standards. So they broke camp, each one by his family, according to their fathers' houses. So each one of these, they had a special move, and they had to go at a certain time, and they had to know. And they may have even, they said, some of these may have even had, the north side had their own flag. South side had their own flag. And then Judah had his flag too. and then Dan had his flag, and then Asher had this. So you may have had a whole bunch. We don't know exactly what they had. So we had 603,550. Says these are the marching orders from Mount Sinai. The tribes dutifully and faithfully adhered to these instructions for orderly encampment, assembly, and disassembly of the tabernacle, and disembarkment on the journey through the wilderness. So this all speaks of order. God put them in this certain order. It says God is God of order. Before Israel can take the promised land, he requires they order themselves. Not only is it more efficient and useful, but is also simply more like God. God is ordered and organized. Nothing gets done by chaos. Okay? Some people,
God knew what he was doing.
They thrive on chaos, but that's not what God wants.
No.
There's a limit to what we can be and what we can do for the Lord without order and organization. It isn't that order and organization are requirements for progress in the Christian life. They are progress in the Christian life. We are becoming more Christ-like. Okay? There's something in there that we have to do. We have to learn to follow orders. That's why it looks like a military, and that's why God wants it. And once a general tells you something to do, you better do it. God does the same thing. He tells us things to do. Now, if we don't do it, sometimes we suffer the consequences, just like they did. We may not get what we want. We may not, we'll reap what we sow, as they say. We'll let our wild oats get sowed and all those good things. But one of the things that I want to point out, and it's got this particular same thing here. It looks like this one. But I really like this one. I wish they'd laid it out different. There's one thing that I want you to notice about this. If you say this one person takes up maybe a square foot, okay, where you're standing, so you take that 186,400 people, make that 186,400 square feet. So you draw that out. So that'd be the longest. Okay? That's would be more area. This one to the east or south, it's 151,000, so it's 30,000 less than that one, so it's not quite as far as that one. This is 157 on the north, so it's about the same as the one on the south. And this west one is only 108,000, so it's shorter. It's not as much. So if you look at that like this, now I wish I'd made one. This is long. Okay, it runs off paper. These are about the same, and this is short. It'd be about two-thirds of what this one is. If you look at it that way, what does that look like?
And so
across.
And the ones in the west were last to go.
Yeah. But if you look at this, the way it was laid out, if you was 50 miles up in the air and you look down on all these flags and all this, it would look like a cross.
Oh, yeah.
That's a representation because of the number of peoples in each area. Now they're showing them more all together like a big square. It may have been the way it was, but I think it was more like a cross. Yeah, because you had more people in there. That physically has to be longer or more spread out or something than that other group.
Well, it's fascinating, truly.
It is. People look at it. Huh? It is amazing. And here again, you know how many 12 square miles is? We say it would take 12 square miles to put all these people in. That's 4 miles one way, 3 miles another. That's how big a group. So you go from Pine down to Admiral, down to 11th, down to 21st. Okay, that's 4 miles this way. and you go from Sheridan to Yale to Harvard.
It'd be like from here to Sand Springs.
Well, that's
starting to Sand Springs.
That's all this area.
Yeah.
That would be this. I mean,
Like
it's bigger than Dawson.
The whole,
yeah. Yeah, it's almost as big as North Tulsa.
Yeah.
The northern part of Tulsa. 12 square miles. That's huge.
It's huge.
I mean, all the way from 21st to Pine.
And Sheridan, all the way to probably to
Harvard. Yale. No, you go Sheridan, Yale, Harvard. That's 3 miles.
Okay.
So you can do it either way, but that's huge. I mean, that's just amazing how much. And to just think today, if we had to move that many people in one particular area, how long would that take?
A week.
Well, it'd take a long time just to get the message to them.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, today we'd have to have phone calls, and we'd have to go up and down the street and everything else. I mean, just like we do at tornadoes, you know, we have the sirens and everything, try to warn people.
Wow.
They had their own system. They had the horns that they would blow and let everybody know, hey, time to start gathering your stuff. We need to move. And they did this all in a certain time period. Now you got to remember, you know, how many days they moved.
Every time they encamped, though, they knew.
They knew they'd be there for a little while.
Yeah.
So
and then they knew when it was time to leave.
That's right, because they told them, and I mean, they would, whenever God told them, whenever the cloud moved, you know, start to go, they'd know to go.
In order we go.
Yeah. So.
Wow. It is very fascinating.
Well, that's all I got for tonight.
Well, thank you very much, kind sir. You're a teacher.
I think we're going to be going to verse 3, chapter 3 next week. I don't think we'll get the movies out yet for the rest of the Chosen, so we got somebody watching, one person it looks like. Y'all have a good night. We'll see y'all Sunday.
I wonder if Brother Bill watches anymore.
He might. We'll have to ask him. That's the only thing about this. I can't tell who